The days of using our mouths to speak will soon come to an end. Instead, we will live in a world in which we will send information to one another by using our minds. Speaking will be seen as inefficient and will only be used to reminisce about the past of when people spoke to each other to communicate. The aspect of transmitting information from your mind to someone else's mind is extremely exciting and at the same time very strange. This phenomenon can be called telepathy, which has been displayed in many different science fiction films and has had numerous studies on it throughout the course of history. But is this even possible? Well, scientists have been looking to answer that question for long periods of time. But even though this seems like something out of a Black Mirror episode, something like this is likely to happen in the future. Using EEGs, scientists have been able to link up thoughts between two parties, one in India and one in France. One user would think about saying something like "hi." The thought would then get transformed into code and sent to the other user. The user that received the code had signals pass through his skull, which stimulated the brain so that the user would see flashes in their peripheral, which then they could decode for the thought that the first user had. Now this seems like a lot of work for transferring a thought to someone else, but this is just early developments of the future of this technology. Later, this technology will be accomplished by some sort of computer chip in your mind. It will most likely be a feature when brain-to-computer interfaces are developed for widespread use. Instead of seeing flashes or some type of code, the information will be more easily understood and much faster. Different brain-to-computer interface companies like Neuralink are already thinking about integrating this in their technology. Even Elon Musk believes this will happen in the future at some point.
One day in the future, there's going to come a time where you can read each other's minds.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you'll be able to interface with each other in some sort of a non-verbal, non-physical way where you will transfer data back and forth to each other without having to actually use your mouth and make noises.
Exactly. So when you, like, what happens when let's say you've got some complex idea that you're trying to convey to somebody else, and how do you do that? Well, your brain spends a lot of effort compressing a complex concept into words, and there's a lot of loss, information loss that occurs when compressing a complex concept into words. And then you say those words are then interpreted, then they're decompressed by the person who is listening, and they will at best get a very incomplete understanding of what you're trying to convey. It's very difficult to convey a complex concept with precision because you've got compression, decompression. You may not even have heard all the words correctly, and so communication is difficult. What we have here is a failure to communicate.
This type of communication will be beneficial to society in various ways. Any language barriers that you may have with someone will be torn down. You will be able to communicate with anyone in the world you'd like, as long as they have a computer chip installed in their brain. Along with this, sometimes language is bad for explaining complex ideology. Your brain takes a while to put this complex idea into words, and even then, it still might be difficult to explain. With telepathy, you will be able to directly transfer information to that person's brain, which will be clearer and easier for the other person to understand the complex idea. A study in 2015 connected the brains of rats together, in which they were able to cooperate and exchange information. The rats learned how to synchronize their brains together to harness more knowledge and become some type of network of combined brain power. The rats underwent different tests, such as discriminating between two different patterns, in which the rats with networked brains routinely outperformed the individual rats without. If these rats that had networked brains were more intelligent than the regular rats, the human applications for connecting brains would be interesting to explore. The idea of creating a network of humans combining their brain power together, turning them into a biological computer, could greatly push innovation and enhance performance. But there is probably some hidden downsides that would negatively affect these humans, which could be extremely bad for the people involved. Nonetheless, there are probably other effects that telepathy will bring to society, most of which will be inconceivable until the technology is out for the public to use. Hopefully, when this technology comes out, people will still decide to speak without the device when they aren't working on something important. Something about hearing people's voices and the way people talk is very human, and society must be careful not to tread away from that as we head to the age of technological advances. And as always, thanks for watching.